In your very varied and illustrious career, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement?
I think building the cancer hospital, because I had no experience of it. The government had tried and failed to build a specialist cancer hospital in Pakistan, and to build it and to run it, and then to have 75% of the patients treated free without any government help. And it's been going for 15 years, and it's the biggest charitable institution in Pakistan. I think that I consider my greatest achievement so far. The hospital is funded entirely by charitable donations, and every year the budget goes up. Every year I have more people donate more money. I found in Pakistan, if people trust you, if you're a credible institution, it is one of the most generous countries anywhere in the world. In Pakistan, they give highest per capita in charity compared to any other country. The biggest problem is really health and education is the domain of the government, and we have been very unfortunate in having very poor governance, deteriorating governance, and none worse than the current one, which is corrupt and incompetent. So it's the political class, and along with the military dictators, that have really brought Pakistan to this state. Otherwise, in the 60s, when I was growing up, Pakistan had very good institutions. It's unique because it's a specialist cancer hospital. Anywhere in the world, to set it up, because it's very capital intensive, and then to run it, it has the highest running costs. And then to have a hospital where 75% patients get free treatment, it requires a lot of money. I was lucky because I was known everywhere in Pakistan. Cricket is the biggest sport, and I was the biggest name. So I used that to collect this money. Others do not have that sort of profile. But eventually, it's the government. The government's responsibility is to provide people with the basic needs of health, education, employment, justice.
Who do you think are the greatest cricketers you faced in your sporting career?
The greatest batsman is very easy, was Vivian Richards. I thought he was, at a time of a lot of great players, he just stood up head and shoulders above everyone else. He was a genius. Bowlers, I also played at a time when there were some of the fastest bowlers in the world. But three stand out. One was Michael Holding, who was the fastest. Jeff Thompson was also the fastest, but in terms of skill, Dennis Lillee and Malcolm Marshall and Michael Holding were the three outstanding.
Aren't you being a bit self-effacing about yourself?
Obviously I can't talk about myself, but I would categorize myself more as an all-rounder. But these were, as pure fast bowlers, these three stood out.
Intelligence Squared is having an event on the notion and on the idea of sportsmanship soon. Is the idea of sportsmanship a colonial myth, do you think, or did it play an important role in your own cricketing career?
I think people sort of seem to get sportsmanship wrong, in the sense that they think it's, brinksmanship, or where people are trying to get advantage their way and cutthroat competition. People sort of push the boundaries. But for me, the greatest lesson I learned from sport was this ability to never give up and keep fighting fighting to the last ball. I think if once you have that sort of attitude, whatever you do in life, and whatever I have done, sort of taken big challenges, politics is probably the biggest challenge. But this lesson you learn, that you only lose when you give up. And if you don't give up, no one can defeat you. So it's an invaluable lesson that sport teaches you. I think when it's pre-planned sledging, I'm against it. But when in the heat of the moment emotions come out, within limits, I think that's part of the game. But I do not agree with where players apparently plan to say, awful things to rile up other players. I do not agree with that.
Do the Taliban play cricket? And could cricket be the solution to Pakistan's problems if they could be persuaded to do so?
The Taliban, first of all, what are the Taliban? Taliban are basically people in Pakistan's tribal area, the Pashtun tribes, who have risen up because Pakistan Army did military operations. And military operations where they use bombs, artillery, helicopter gunships, F-16s on villages. Exactly what the Americans did in Afghanistan. And it's a reaction, the Pashtun population in reaction. A section of them rose up. And because it was American versus Taliban, everyone who stood up against the Americans or the Pakistan Army called themselves Taliban. The solution is not cricket. The solution is to have a sensible way of dealing with this thing, which is not bombing them. The more bombing, the more Taliban. The more the reaction, when people react to this so-called collateral damage, when the villages are bombed, they go and join the only party that is standing up to the Americans or the Pakistan Army, which is the Taliban. But this is not an ideological enemy. It is a political enemy. The solution lies in politics, i.e. an exit strategy from Afghanistan, rather than thinking that some sort of moderate Islam or distributing some welfare or goods or services would help. Until there's occupation in Afghanistan, this will not end. In fact, it will keep growing. There were no Taliban in Pakistan. Until the Pakistan Army went in 2004, we had no militant Taliban in Pakistan. The military operations, 2 years of military operation, 2 years of drone attacks on villages, killing innocent people, because majority of people killed were being innocent. It was these drone attacks and military operations that created the Pakistan Taliban. And every operation has increased their strength, hasn't decreased it. So today, when we had no Taliban, today we have 30 Taliban groups operating in Pakistan. There were 500 blasts in Pakistan. It's an insane policy. It's an immoral policy. The thing to do is to talk to the Taliban and remove the tribal people from the actual hardline ideologues, who are trying to impose some system, which is a small minority. Majority are our own tribal people who picked up the gun, and we push them towards the Taliban.